I want to talk about the company store. Um, if you've heard that term, it's probably because you heard a song that references it. Uh, Load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Right? So, the company store, there's a line in there I owe my soul to the company store, or I sold my soul to the company store. Either way, the idea is that um, these old mining towns, coal mining towns, used to pop up as warehouses for the workers that were mining the coal. And in order to better control their workers, these companies would pay their workers in company dollars, basically. They weren't spendable outside of the work camp. They weren't spendable outside of the company town. They were redeemable at the company store. And so as these workers were working, they were, paying for their clothes and their food at the company store. They were paying for soap at the company store. Uh, so the company was making money there by not paying them in dollars, but in company money. They could charge whatever they wanted for the items in their company money. It didn't have I mean, there was a dollar equivalent. The company bought these supplies elsewhere and brought them in for dollars, but they were charging their employees company money, right? And what would happen is basically the workers were trapped. They couldn't save their earnings and redeem them for dollars. They couldn't save up and leave the company town. They had to just stay there and keep spending what the company uh, would allow them to buy with their company script, right? Their company IOUs, their company notes, their company whatever they call them, right? The company money. You worked for the company all day, all night. At the end of it, you got paid in company money. When you went to go live your life, when you weren't actively working, you were having to pay the company for everything that you needed. You couldn't save enough to get out of town, and you couldn't even muster the resources to leave town because uh, everything you had was in company money, right? You couldn't. You leave the company town. What do you spend? Company money? You can't, right? So they owned these people basically. It was yeah, it was a thing. Now I want to talk about taxes. A lot of people have been wanting very much to get away from, for example, the US dollar. Why? Why would they want to get away from the US dollar? Well, it's because they don't trust it. They don't trust the ties that go along with it. If you have money in a bank, the government has access to your money in the bank. They know how much you have. They know when you spend it. It's this know your customer stuff. They've got all kinds of information on you. If you're doing any kind of banking in U.S. dollars, the government can get a hold of that information pretty easily. Actually, um, they're keeping tabs on you. Um, what's more, um, they expect you to pay them in company money, right? Your taxes are due company money. It has to be US dollars, which means that it has to be generated. How do I put this? The only way to get US dollars is by participating in the US dollar system, right? It doesn't mean there aren't black market ways of making money and cash under the table ways of making money, but at some point, someone's accountable for that money uh, moving through the systems. And the government wants to know about that. If it weren't for the need to pay taxes, we could have an alternate economy that cut the government out, which I think a lot is attractive to a lot of people, but it's something the government specifically does not want. You live on the company's land. You pay the company rent in the form of property taxes. Even if you're renting from a private individual, that person is paying property taxes. So you are paying property taxes. Depending on which state you're in, you're paying income taxes, sales taxes, vehicle licensing fees, all these things. They're all US dollar things. And the people who'd like to get away from the system have a problem in that, well, if you want to own property, you have to somehow convert whatever you're using into US dollars. This is true if people are using Bitcoin or whatever, gold or silver. Like you can't actually, that I know of, you can't actually use gold and silver very easily to pay your government bills. I'm sure they'd gladly take it if they had a system set up for it, but it's not set up for that right now. Right now it's set up for using US fiat currency. And we're living in the company. I think that people don't get that along with the US dollar being good for all debts, foreign and domestic, in this country, there's a flip side to that, right? It's that you have to pay the company store in company money, and you can't not pay the company store. You can't not pay your taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come after you. That's a threat that's there, that everyone knows is there, and few people really think about very deeply. What if I don't pay my property taxes? Well, they take your house. There's a bunch of steps between you not paying and them taking it, but that is fundamentally the threat that's out there. And when they take it, it will be sheriff's deputies with guns coming out to move you bodily off the land because you didn't pay your rent to the company. I think it's interesting because everyone bemoans that company store setup with the coal miners, right? But they don't look around and see the analogous system that we're living under. We're swimming in it. We was listening to or watching an online debate, some people talking about homeless people taking over the parks and stuff, and there was a lot of indignation because people had paid their taxes and they expected their park to be there for them to recreate because they had paid their taxes. And while I can sympathize with that position because you did get robbed at gunpoint for your tax money, the truth of the matter is there's some resentment in the homeless debate here, where these people aren't contributing, they aren't being robbed in the same way, and they're getting housing for free, right? People are resentful that they can just throw a tent in a park and just live with impunity, live without having to be robbed in the same way. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be homeless or I want anyone to be homeless or that I think homelessness is grand or romantic or great or any of that. It is one of the freest ways to live because you're not paying all the same taxes than everyone else is paying. And everyone else who's paying them, they're paying it under duress. Some people are avid fanatics about taxes. They love to pay their fair share as they see it, and they attach moral weight to it, much like a churchgoer would attach a moral weight to tithing to the church. So some people do actually like to pay taxes. It's interesting. And these same people probably really don't like how their taxes are spent. That's interesting too. But they're very proud of being taxpayers. And they feel very entitled, because they are taxpayers, to have the government do the things that they want the government to do for them, even if it means hurting other people because, they're sleeping for free in a park. Or any number of other things. Anyway, the company store. You're living on a plantation, people. Um, it's a very nice plantation for some. Some people have uh, good arrangements with the master and have worked themselves into positions of favor with the master, at least favor enough to be ignored and not whipped so much. But we're living on a plantation. We're living on a coal mine. We're paying everything to the company store. I think it would not be unreasonable to say that anyone who's got a quote unquote regular job is paying quite a lot of money in taxes every year, maybe even up to half, and you don't actually have a say in how those taxes are spent. You really don't. You can vote on things, but come on. You don't have a say on how that money is spent. Um, right now, it's being used to kill people abroad. Right now, it's being used to beat people domestically. Right now, it's being used to imprison people for crimes that don't actually have victims and hurt people. Right. So that tax money is being spent in horribly violent ways, and you don't. If you flat out refuse to pay the taxes, you get whipped. That's our system, and we need to see it for what it is. Now, there are some people who can't see it, won't see it, consider it tithing, and they 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 walk around with their chest high and their nose up in the air, proudly proclaiming that they are taxpayers. And those people, I'm not really talking to them. Someday maybe they can come around, but for the people that have an ear for this discussion of, hey, wait a second, if I don't want to pay this, I really can't not pay it, and that if I do stop paying it, like if I actually make an effort to stop paying it, they'll punish me. That's an interesting thing, and we need to grapple with that honestly, rather than using euphemisms like taxation. I mean, it's taxing. It's kind of a euphemism, but really, let's call it armed robbery, theft, extortion. Some of the good English words that are out there for this kind of behavior. If I were to do it to you, you would think I'm a son of a bitch. If I were to come over to your place and say, hey, you live close to me, I need some of your money, give me some money or I'll kick you out of the house, I think you would be right to tell me to piss off. And we need more of that righteous piss offness. Right? We need people to just recognize that they're being stolen from on the regular, that there is very little they can do about it, but that it's wrong rather than just a fact of life and right. I mean, the whole death and taxes thing, what a mind job that is. Only certain things are death and taxes. Well, why are taxes included in that? Um, are kings inevitable? Um, what if we didn't have taxes? Would the whole world go to pot if we stopped bombing people in other countries because there were no more taxes? Would the whole world go to pot if we started or stopped imprisoning people for marijuana use? Would the whole world go to pot if we stopped doing the violence then our taxes are actually there to justify? Because the taxes aren't. Are your benefits worth the violence? You might say yes. You might say that if I get a benefit from it, it's worth threatening violence to everybody around me because I have to have my, I don't know, medical care, or I have to have my road without potholes. Therefore, it is right to threaten everyone with violence. You might think that. Um, I don't think that way. I think more and more people are thinking that that seems a little bit excessive. And I hope we're growing. I don't know. But the blanket assumption that, yeah, we can do this, we can just charge everyone, and we'll that'll be fair because everyone has to pay. Except that everyone has to pay for things that everyone doesn't agree with, right? You're making people pay for stuff that they don't want to have their money spent on. That's wrong. That's clearly wrong. Um, and it doesn't matter where you work. I mean, that's the thing. We're the whole country is the company, right? It doesn't matter where you work. You can even go to another country, and the U.S. government will tell you that you got to pay taxes in America for it if you make money in another country. You can't even leave, right? Um, and they will take that money, and they will use it to leverage debt. They will use it to buy arms. They will use it to uh, destroy people in other countries. They'll use it to destroy people in this country. They do so on the regular. Um, they'll use it to launder money for private interests. They'll pay the private prisons. They'll pay the private arms manufacturers. It's a it's the company store. We're living in the company store. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that's where we are. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a position that says that, hey, I'm okay with it. I'll just pay my bit and I'll keep my head down, and I'll just have my happy little life. I'm happy for you. And at the same time, I need you to grow a set. Have a good one.